Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, but I definitely don't think it's the Markle side of the family, because that's the side of the family that I've got to know. And
Yes.
actually, if you look at them, Angela, they are positive people. They're go-getters. They are actually
Wait for it.
really people. You know, Thomas Markle Jr., Thomas himself, Samantha. So maybe it comes from the Doria side of the family, the Raglan side of the family, but certainly I don't think that negativity comes from the Markles, even though obviously she gives the Markles a bad name these days. Angela, you reported last week, and of course, it's gone all around the world here on Outspoken, just how unhappy Meghan in particular was after that CBS interview launching the Parents Network. Do you think that Josh Kettler's departure could be coinciding with that? Because it was such a bad launch. No one was talking about the Parents Network. Everyone was just talking about this awkward interview. Do you think that could have been the final straw?
Very good question.
Well, it's hard to know, isn't it? Because we don't know when he actually said, I'm not
I'm out.
coming. And you could be set at the last minute. But I think that Meghan was furious that in the interview,
Are you serious?
it was brought up about her decision. She wanted to kill herself. And you could see she was absolutely furious. You could also see that she was absolutely furious
Are you serious?
when Harry spoke about what he thought a parent should do, which was rather odd. And I think that's really upset her. The interesting thing is, I always thought with Harry,
Okay.
he always showed you what he felt on his face, and he still does. You can see whether he's happy or whether he's sad. Sadly, it's mainly sad. But on the other hand, Meghan often had this smile and looked,
Wait for it.
as if she was a very successful star and smiling and looking nice. But now, when something happens, she immediately changes and her face looks terrifying. She looks very,
Here it comes.
very angry, and you could see it all there in her stomach, that she's furious. How dare they do this to her? And I think that that's quite interesting, because it's obviously done in public, and
Almost there.
we can all get cross in public, but you don't do that. You try not to anyway till you get home, and then you can say, "Oh, so angry."
Yeah, but she can't even hide it anymore. You're right. And we saw that, didn't we, when she
So that was a lie.
came back for the late Queen's funeral, and there was that very awkward walkabout outside of Windsor Castle alongside William and Catherine. And there was a moment when a aide tried to take some flowers off her, and he seemed like a very nice young man who was trying to help her out, and she snapped at him. And I thought, my goodness, if you're snapping at someone like that, when you know that you're in the glare of the world's media with hundreds and hundreds of cameras on you,
Stop it.
then imagine what you're like behind closed doors at your Montecito mansion. It ain't going to be pretty, is it?
Oh, but that's the interesting thing, that she is an actress.
Fact.
So she ought to be able
To turn it on.
change her expressions to what she wants. She shouldn't be overwhelmed by them. I think that's quite strange. But on that day, you could see she was furious. And when they walked round, the four of them, they were looking at the flowers and things left on the road, and she was turning left and right because Catherine wasn't giving her any attention.
Fact.
And you can see she was so bitter, she was so angry, and you want to say, "Calm down, Meghan. Don't show it."
Yeah,
Be-
exactly. Be a better actress. Be a better actress.
Wait for it.
And be dignified. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knew that she was furious with them, but she had kept them waiting over an hour actually before they went out for their walk. So when they wanted to go and see all
Stop it.
these flowers and comments and letters, so I'm sure they would be quite angry. But that's beside the point. She just couldn't hold it in.
Angela, can we talk about the Colombian tour Because even though there's no chief of staff, Harry and Meghan are still going at the invitation of the country's vice president. They arrive, we believe, on Thursday.
Are you serious?
They're going to be staying at one point in the Sofitel Hotel, which looks quite glamorous, but slightly odd that we know where they're going to be, given all of the security concerns. Fact. What are you hearing about this tour, Angela, and what are you expecting to come from it?
Well, let me just start by saying, they keep on saying they want to see the king and how awful it is. You would speak to them all that.
Okay.
But if you really wanted to make him happy, and if you really wanted to get closer to William, you wouldn't go on this sort of phony royal tour, because they're not royals, and they can't make any deals. They can't make any organizations or discuss anything because they don't have that privilege. But it does hurt the royal family, because whatever they do...
The Queen and the late Queen Mother, of course, they had aides as well who stayed with them for decades and decades. And Angela, there's a really key point when you think about this, because do you remember when Harry and Meghan were in the royal family?
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
It was all because the institution was against them. Their staff were working against them. But there was a real track record of it always being someone else's fault. So do you remember they went through 3 nannies in 6 weeks? That's not normal. But of course...
Wait for it.
Of course, it was the nannies who were doing a terrible job and they weren't properly looking after Archie. Then you had the PA, and this was a PA who had worked for Robbie Williams. So big celebrities who have their own diva demands. But no, she was crying all the time because Meghan's demands were so terrible. But of course, that was her fault as well, Angela. She was incompetent, according to Meghan. Then you even had Samantha Cohen, who had worked for the late Queen for years and years and years. So experienced. She couldn't cope with them either. Sarah Latham, who had worked for big, difficult politicians like Hillary Clinton. She wasn't good enough. So actually, it wasn't about the royal family, was it? Because exactly the same thing that happened in the UK in terms of this monumentally high turnover of staff has now been directly repeated in Hollywood.
Yes, it's very interesting, isn't it? I think, Meghan doesn't understand what it's all about because she wasn't there long enough. But on the other hand, she thinks she's very glorious and wonderful, and nobody can come near her in what she knows and what she can do, and so it's very difficult. It's going to be it's not relaxed, and you see as well that when she was at the palace, she said she didn't want anybody to call her by the Duchess. She thought it was awful. Wasn't necessarily at all, and now she insists on everybody doing that. So the less she's seen, the less she's being royal, the more she wants to be talked to in a very regal way.
What?
So weird, isn't it? That is just so weird. But Angela, I don't think we can completely pin this one on Meghan. I mean, look, we know she's very difficult, but Harry has become increasingly miserable, increasingly impossible to please, and it's very difficult for his staff members too. I mean, I was looking through a lot of the pictures of Josh Kettler alongside Harry in Nigeria, and in every single image...
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Angela, Harry had a face like thunder.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen him with a face that isn't thunder. Going through lots of things, when he was setting up the Parents Network, which we're going to talk about soon.
That doesn't make sense.
Wherever he goes, if he comes over to the UK, he's very, very moody. I think he's in a very bad state, and he's in my view, he's between a wooden floor.
Rock and a hard place. Yeah,
that's it. a rock in the hard and a hard place, and he just can't work out how to get out of it or how to change it. Let's put it that way. I feel very sorry for him, but I'm
What?
also very cross with the way he behaves. So it's a very tricky one. And I suppose that Mr. Kettler just thought, this is too much for me. Lots of shouting, screaming. People aren't satisfied. People don't say, oh, thank you. Keep you up all night. There's a way that people will work endlessly for the people they like, and others who feel that they're not being treated properly. And this is a great example of that.
There's a famous Taylor Swift song at the moment, Angela.
Okay.
And the lyrics are, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me. Surely Harry and Meghan need a little dose of that. They need a reality check. This is about you. It's not about the people working for you. Look, some of them might not have been great, but when you're
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
literally talking about every single senior person who comes into your orbit cannot work with you, there has to be some sort of self-reflection, doesn't there?
Yes, of course there does. The thing that is very sad is that
Wait for it.
Meghan is becoming known to being very negative and destroying things. We've seen it with Harry's family, that she's not going to ever come to the UK, but she said she is. She just makes things very difficult. A poor father who is now 80, she won't have anything to do with him. She didn't have anyone else at the wedding apart from her mother on her side. And if she doesn't want a friend, she just drops them. She never thinks about them again. So she has moments of being funny and clever and all that, but actually it's very difficult for her not to turn negative. And I wonder why that is, whether, it's in the family, whether it's upbringing, whether it's just her. But I think it's something very powerful there that destroys what could have been a very good, helpful, wonderful royal.